using ChatGPT or AI tools to help you during your divorce journey? Are you wondering if ChatGPT chats can be used against you in court, or are you relying on tech instead of legal advice during your family court case? Well, today's episode will be perfect for you because we're going to be looking at the 5 essential truths about using AI, from how AI can mislead you to how your chats could be used against you in court. We're also going to show you the right way to use AI during your divorce process. Welcome, Mum.
Hello, Laura. Hello, everyone. Interesting topic today.
Yes. Look, it's topical because it's going on a lot,
Yep.
actually. There's a lot of information out there on the internet, on Instagram, on TikTok, and I think maybe it is something we need to talk about. But this is a legal disclaimer. This is not legal advice for you. Mum is not your lawyer. We may be in a different country to you, but these are things you need to be considering. We are not telling you to do them or not do them. We are just discussing the topic of AI and divorce. So let's get started.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Laura Furiosi, divorced mother of 3, and I'm here with my mother, Lynette Galvin, with 35 years' experience in family law. You're listening to the Divorce Course podcast. Through our candid discussions, we hope to help you through your divorce or de facto separation. We will be answering the most commonly asked questions and covering the stages and steps that you will face on your way to freedom.
So before we get started, unless you've been living in a box, there is this thing called ChatGPT. And there are other AI platforms like Gemini and goodness knows what. There's a whole bunch of them. And if you've never used AI before, usually they are very friendly, helpful, and you can ask them to write things. You can ask them to organize things, assess things, do things. It has developed very quickly.
Yes.
And it is moving very fast. There is a new thing called AI agents now, where not only do they organize, they'll create something for you, they'll then go out and do it for you on the internet. So it's a whole world that we're facing and going through. But I do think people, Mum, going through divorce are going to get caught up in it to a degree.
Yes.
Because it's an untested frontier in divorce.
Yes, I agree, Laura. AI, artificial intelligence, is something even I've embraced because it's so convenient. And everything that it does seems legitimate until it's not. So yes, I see a good role for artificial intelligence in divorce, but yeah, you have to use it right.
Let's talk about our 5 essential truths that we want to bring to everyone's attention today, because I guarantee you at least half of the people listening have somehow used AI when it's come up in some sort of moment of their divorce. One thing that I'm hearing a lot on TikTok and Instagram is people are using AI to write their consent orders, and you're already starting to have a heart attack. So, Mum, before I get your opinion, so people are putting into ChatGPT consent orders, so property consent orders or parenting consent orders, and we talk you through those if you've never heard of them in other episodes, but they're basically the way to stop and settle your divorce for property or for children's. Where do you see the problem with getting AI to help you write your consent orders, Mum?
The main problem that I see potentially is that AI, it'll print out something, like it can print out something that seems legitimate, that looks like a good set of orders, and you go, oh yes, there you go, that's good. But unless you're a lawyer looking at it, I don't think you can tell the difference between a good set of consent orders and a bad set of consent orders because it's in the detail.
Right. And like we talk about in our course, and when we're talking about parenting consent orders in particular, or property consent orders, and lawyers make these mistakes as well. They don't think about the what ifs, or they don't make sure that the language actually says what it means it says. So I have seen people who've got ChatGPT to do it. They've looked at it. It looks very it's very legally worded. It looks very professional. But when you read it, you're like, it doesn't say what happens if someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do.
That's
or
right.
it doesn't say what happens if they don't buy the house, or if the house doesn't sell, or a whole bunch of things that people might not think of. So do you think that's going to happen, Mum?
Oh, it's definitely going to happen. But you've got to remember, ChatGPT or artificial intelligence has the whole world to look at. And so when I used it to briefly write a few notes on the amendments to the Family Law Act that just happened, it invented a section. There's no
Oh,
such
gosh.
section. I know that, but most non-lawyers wouldn't know that. So, remember those memes, those ones that go, seems legit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
It
legit.
seems legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it might help you to get a framework,
And
but
we're
be
going to talk
careful
about that.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about how you can use it, but one of the things you definitely shouldn't do, and Mum had a heart attack, is getting it to write your consent orders or property or children's or even a financial agreement. Definitely don't get it to do that.
Or an affidavit.
So that's my next question to you, Mum. What about affidavits? I've heard lots of people using it to write affidavits. Can you use, is it a good idea?
If you're putting in your statements, here's where I use it. I use it for formatting because I can't format. But if you've got a lot of statements or a lot of earlier affidavits and you want to consolidate them into one, I think you could use AI to put them all into one document with signing page at the bottom and all of that. But again, you have to check very carefully because it's not just, when you get in court, it's not just, oh, whoopsie, didn't mean to put that in. It's something much worse than that. An affidavit is supposed to be your words and your case. And even I can pick AI-generated stuff from a mile away. And I'm sure the judges are much smarter than I am, and they'll see it.
And we've done an episode on writing your own affidavit, and we've talked about the importance of getting your story across.
Yes.
Particularly if you're trying to communicate coercive control or family violence as well. You really need to get your story across and get that emotion across. And whilst it may seem good to get printed out a 30-page document by AI that details everything, it's going to not sound like you, and it's not going to be your story, your voice. So we're going to talk about how you can use it to help you with that. But if you are relying on it just to write it for you or straight off the bat, it's not going to give that feeling, isn't it, Mum, about affidavits that you talk about?
That's right. So a good affidavit tells your story. It sounds authentic. It's full of examples. And before ChatGPT, we all used to have precedent affidavits that we could use as lawyers. And judges started to get cranky about these cookie-cutter affidavits because they were none the wiser at the end of the affidavit than they were at the beginning. So your authentic voice is important, and don't think it won't be noticed that you've used AI. You can tell it in any writing.
And another thing I've noticed with AI document things, if you get it to write one affidavit once and then later on, like 2 years later, you get it to write another one or another document, it can have a completely different tone of voice. It doesn't even sound like it was written by the same person. So you have to be really careful. But we're going to talk about how later on, so don't freak out. So essential fact number 2, Mum, is ChatGPT or AI isn't a lawyer.
No, it's not.
And it doesn't understand legal nuances. So can you give me a little explanation on why people shouldn't be using ChatGPT as a lawyer?
I think that they call it hallucinations. I think someone was telling me the other day when ChatGPT goes completely off and says nonsense, that you shouldn't use it for that.
Yeah. So family law is different all over the world, for a start. In Australia, WA is slightly different.
Yes.
But most of Australia is the same, and WA is just a little bit different. But if you're trying to use ChatGPT for legal advice, it's going to be pulling from sources all over the world. And the legal family law space in the States is so different and so complex as well as here. Like, there's no way that ChatGPT, I think, is going to be able to give you proper legal advice, particularly as we always say, like we're not AI, but we're talking. But your situations, I've never met someone with exactly the same situation in their divorce. Have you?
No, and I've been doing this for close to 40 years.
Context.
It is.
It's context.
Context is everything, as they say. And states have different family violence legislation as well. But ChatGPT just draws all those resources, sends it to you. I don't know if you've ever picked up on a mistake in something they've done. And my friend told me they picked up the mistake and said, what about this? And it went, oh, good catch. No responsibility, no care. And you can't sue
Mm.
ChatGPT if they make a big mistake. So
It doesn't know what your parenting plan is. It doesn't know what your ex's behavior is. It doesn't know your risk factors. It doesn't know your emotional history. Even if you plug all of that in, it's not going to put it in the right context. And like we said, family law is very context heavy. It's not black and white contract law.
No.
There's all these different ifs and buts and whys and hows. And on top of that, you've also got to think about what's safe, what's reasonable. And it also doesn't ask you the right follow-up questions.
No.
Like a lawyer to a degree, and why we think our course is really good, because people go do our course, they look at the information, they learn about it, they know what they're entitled to
Yes.
and why. Then they go see a lawyer, and the lawyer may forget to ask them about their future needs or something like that. And then they know, well, actually, you forgot to ask me this question. So even lawyers sometimes forget to ask certain questions, but ChatGPT is not going to be asking you little subtle follow-up nuanced questions, particularly for the new stuff that's just come out with the changes to the Family Law Act. So it's not a lawyer.
No.
I cannot stress that.
It never says, oh, I don't know. It just tells
Yeah.
you anything.
So please, if you are using ChatGPT as your lawyer to get legal advice, go and see a lawyer, figure out what's what, where you stand, and you can use AI in other ways
Yes.
that aren't going to risk. Because if you get ChatGPT to tell you, and we see this with people, even whether they've used ChatGPT or not, where their ex hasn't got a lawyer.
Yes.
The other person's got a lawyer, and then they say to you, Mum, oh, my ex just got a lawyer, and you say, oh, good.
Yes.
And they go, why is that good? And you go, because they're completely running on emotion and clueless about what the law is, and they're arguing with you for a reason that doesn't exist
Yes.
in the Family Law
That's
Act.
right.
So once someone sets your ex straight or sets you straight, your negotiations are going to run smoother. And if you're all relying on ChatGPT, that's going to end in a very long, messy divorce.
Because you keep fighting if you think that you're right. And if ChatGPT's told you the wrong thing, you could be throwing good money after bad.
The third essential truth I think everyone needs to face, and this is a biggie, is that AI actually mirrors your biases and emotions. So
Yes.
it's a mirror. And I've read a lot of articles about people using AI for psychology support and things like that. And psychologists are starting to get a little worried because it's mirroring what you want to hear.
Yes.
And it's picking up on your biases and going with it. So a lot of people are starting to say, I'm using it to help me with my counseling or helping with how I react to my ex. Or I found out through AI that my ex is a narcissist. And I think there's a whole bunch of people out there at the moment, Mum, on both sides of the same divorce, whose ChatGPT has told them that the other person's doing the wrong thing and they're the narcissist or they're the baddie.
Goodness. You do have to have your own thinking. And I mean, AI, it isn't as intelligent as you think. You think how quickly it's developed over the last year or so. Our brains and our emotions and our expressions can't be emulated. They can't be properly copied. And so ChatGPT, you've got to think of it, honestly, it's like a garbage in, garbage out sort of thing. And also, it's just completely unapologetically dishes up stuff that seems legit.
If you are using ChatGPT to help you figure out your ex's motivations, their behaviors, their actions, whatever it is, you may be better off going to see a psychologist because a psychologist may give you some hard truths. A lawyer will give you some hard
Hopefully.
truths. But I don't know how many hard truths are coming through in ChatGPT or any AI for that matter. I don't want to get sued by ChatGPT. But I think AI, like they said, that it's mirroring and it's picking up on your biases. And if you are if you're really angry, for example, and you're like, I can't believe this person did this to me. They did this, they did this, they did this. You're telling it from your perspective. You're telling it from your perspective. You're not giving it the whole context. You're not giving it the whole information. And there's probably things you're not even aware of that have occurred. So of course it's going to give you the point of view that is from your point of view. So look, I see it can be therapeutic. I see it can be helpful. And I know people can't afford psychologists. I know people can't afford lawyers. but I do see that this could potentially keep fueling long extended
Yes.
legal battles and mediation drawn out
It may
and
be.
problem. Can you see
Yeah,
that,
I
Mum?
can. And also with mental health, if you're relying on something, it's not as
Mm,
good as even a video link up with someone would
mm.
be. But
So
we sound
you
like we're
need hard
really down
truths.
on the
No, no,
artificial intelligence,
it's fine.
but
We're
we're
going
not.
to get to the
Yep.
good stuff. We're going to get to the good stuff. Just be aware that, so those couple of
Mm.
hard truths, I think is something that we all need to let you know about. Um, Mum,
Yes.
number 4, essential
Right.
truth. Can your AI chat be subpoenaed?
Potentially. Potentially. I can see that someone might try to subpoena your ChatGPT if they suspect you've been using it to write letters and so forth. But if that happens to you, you can, or that if you're asked to disclose it, you can say, look, those documents were created in the course of the litigation for my litigation, and therefore they're privileged. You've got professional legal privilege over those documents, but potentially it can be
Okay.
subpoenaed and it can be quite frightening.
There's a lot on the internet at the moment
Mm.
saying, your chats could be subpoenaed. And I guess anything you write anywhere, as you always say, anything you say, anything you
Yes.
do anywhere
Yeah.
can be used. And we saw recently that people's personal chats were being accidentally leaked onto the Google search. So
Wow.
even if that happens,
Yeah.
but it like even if you mention in court that you've got a private journal and here's page of your
That's
private
right.
journal where it talks about XYZ did this to me, the court can request the rest
Well,
of
the
it,
other
can't
person
they?
will almost certainly request the rest of it for context. Okay.
Mm.
So you've got to be very careful about what you make available, what you allege, what you say you've got.
So if you said, I asked ChatGPT what to do and ChatGPT told me this and here's the bit of the chat, the other side could then say, we want to see the
Well,
whole
any
thing.
lawyer worth their salt would say, hang on a minute, for that answer, what question did you ask it? And what was the question you asked before that? And what modifications did you need? And that might tell the court a lot more about you than you intended. So if it's in a parenting matter, for example, you may be hoping that you can say, relocate, right? And you could be asking ChatGPT, what are the grounds for relocation in Australia? Da, da, da. All right. And that's all with your thought processes. But then if you get into court and say, no, I was never going to relocate, and your ChatGPT makes the liar of it. I tell you,
Mm.
text messaging and Insta and Facebook have changed the world. We had this type of discussion back in about 2004. Could Facebook comments and things be part of your case in the family court? Now, we all know now, of course, absolutely, it can. But back then it was like, oh, I don't know, that's getting into a grey area. Well, I think the ChatGPT is going to potentially become another thing that they can ask for. And unless you can say
And
it's privileged.
you don't want to be a landmark case for some sort of AI family law issue.
No.
And if you are using ChatGPT or an AI situation for your psychologist, they may start subpoenaing that. Or if you use it for legal advice, even though we've told you definitely don't do that, they may look at that. And like you said, Mum, you may write, how do I get to be able to relocate? And then you've said, oh no, I was never going to do that, but it's in your chat. Or if you're a really horrible person, you might have written, how can I get the most out of this person? Or what's the
Absolutely.
best ways to ruin someone's life after divorce? Any of those things could really come and bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
So as you've always said, Mum, when people are going through divorce, what do you stay away from?
You stay away from anything and any comments online or anywhere that might come back attached to an affidavit and bite you on the bum, really. I think that barristers, even if they don't subpoena ChatGPT, I can imagine with a witness in the witness box saying, well, witness, you wrote your own affidavit, yes, and you would have used artificial intelligence to hone that. You're telling the truth, yes. Which bits of it did you actually write? These are supposed to be your
Right.
evidence, and how much of it is from ChatGPT? And that may put all of your evidence at risk of being.
I didn't even think of that. So because you're in the witness
Yes.
box and you're sworn to tell the truth, They could literally just say, did you put this through
Yeah.
ChatGPT? And then start asking you other questions. And it could
Yeah.
okay.
And they can say, well,
Wow.
where's the draft? What did you ask ChatGPT with? And, Your Honour, this affidavit needs to be struck out. It's not authentically from this person. It's not their evidence. It's been sanitised and changed. And in the family court, your evidence is your primary evidence is written affidavit. So don't risk having your primary evidence chucked out, because then what does the court do? And of course, we've all heard of cases where lawyers are putting in submissions. Again, seems legitimate, but clearly they've asked ChatGPT or one of the other AI platforms, and cases have been made up with years and references. And I remember one recently where the judge went to look up the case and it didn't exist.
Hey everyone. Now, before you panic because mum's not here, don't worry. She'll be back with me. And that brings us to our exciting announcement. We're going to be having our webinar. This webinar is designed specifically for anyone going through their divorce or de facto situation with the information I wish I had known when I was going through it. Whether you're just starting at the beginning, you're halfway through the process, or you're close to the end. But this webinar is packed with information to help you on your journey and to empower you to make the decisions that are best for you. I know some of you might be thinking, I do not have the time. I just want to listen to your podcasts. I've got a million to listen to. But I want you to understand it is a laser-focused session packed with actionable tips that you can use straight away. And investing this 1 hour in your time could actually save you thousands of dollars and also many hours undoing the mistakes that you might be making that you don't even know about yet. You might also be wondering, well, I listen to your podcast, but is this really going to be relevant to my specific situation? I listen to your podcasts all the time. I'm all over this. Well, our webinar covers the process, the steps, and the stages that you take along the whole journey. It takes away the fear of the unknown, and it gives you key insights into things that lawyers know about, but us lay people have no clue. At the end, we have a live Q&A with my amazing mum, the family law specialist, where you can ask your unique questions and get real-time answers. And if you're worried about being uncomfortable or unsure of your privacy, let me reassure you, you can participate as much or as little as you like. Some people just come along and watch and learn and write notes. Other people ask questions the whole way through, but it is a safe place where everyone can come to learn and support each other. If you're really worried, we're happy for you to sign up to the webinar when you register with a completely different name to your own. So you can come along, reserve your spot by clicking on the link or going to thedivorcecourse.com.au and clicking reserve my seat. Can't wait to see you there and help you take those next steps towards a happier, healthier, less stressful and overwhelming future. I'll see you at the webinar.
And I remember one recently where the judge went to look up the case and it didn't exist. And so that person, that lawyer, is now being asked why, to show cause, why they should be allowed to continue as a lawyer. And so the judges are picking it up. Your ex will pick it up. So...
And sadly, if you're going through divorce at the moment, if you're going through just even mediation, negotiations, or if you're going through family court, you guys are on the frontier of this.
Yes.
And the courts are going to have to catch up and come up with ways to deal with it, like they did with Facebook and social media and emails and
Yes.
all of that. And someone was caught smack banging it, thinking that it wouldn't matter, and then they found out it did. So you really have to put judge's hat on and think, how would a judge think about this?
Yeah.
How would my ex's lawyer think if I'm writing this? So you really need to be mindful of what you're using it for.
I do think you have to remember what the point of the evidence is. It's a substitute for you saying things in the witness box from your own side of the story without being questioned. And so you don't want to risk that. And yes, Laura, it's funny because when I was an article clerk years ago, when you were 3 or 4, I think, we didn't have any fax machines in the town that I lived in. And Brisbane had one. And they were a law firm. Shout out to Corny Newman and Turner. They were opposite the courts. And so we would ring them up tell them something, get them to fax it to the court, or I'd go up to the post office as the junior and fax it through. So we didn't have fax. Then we started to see Facebook and text messaging, and they all still apply, right? The law as it was written in 1975 has only really been tweaked. The reason for the legislation, point of it, is, to solve these disputes. And so I've got confidence in the legal field for them to be able to embrace the artificial intelligence and still do a good job. But it is untested at the moment.
So, yes, your ChatGPT could be subpoenaed. You could even be asked in the witness box if you used it. So be mindful of that. Number two, and not just subpoenaed as well with ChatGPT. I think if you've got a post-separation abuse, you've got a stalker, you've got someone who is looking at everything you do, if they've cloned your phone, if they've got access to your laptop, they could look at what you're writing in ChatGPT. They could literally just look at it. So be very mindful of what you're doing on that, on any AI.
Because you throw it out there, don't you? You write it in, and in that back comes the answer. It's not like you've got a private group or you can control who sees it.
That's right. So that's essential number one. Your chat can be subpoenaed or can be looked at or can be discussed in court. Number two, if you use AI to write your affidavit, your consent orders, your outline of cases, it may include fiction.
Yes.
And it may not say what it's supposed to say. Number three, ChatGPT isn't a lawyer. It's not a lawyer. It doesn't understand your legal nuances. And of all the legal fields in all of the possible options, family law is the biggest nuanced option there is. So be very careful. Number four, AI may just mirror back to you your biases. So be really careful in relying on it to tell you what to do or how to react or all of those things. See a psychologist. Now, the essential number five, Mum, is you can actually use AI in a smart way for planning or for clarity when it comes to for your divorce.
I use it nearly every day for timetables and putting things in alphabetical order and all that sort of stuff. So my way of using it will be different, but it's a good friend, right, to have just for those sorts of things. But don't let it dominate over the rest of the process. You've got to use it for the routine stuff.
Okay, so let's have a look at some stuff people could use it for so that we're not bashing AI because it'll probably listen to this and not like us anymore.
Sorry, dear. Sorry, Chat.
Yeah, sorry, ChatGPT. So things that I think you could use it for, but again, we're not telling you to do this because there are legal implications we're not aware of. So we've got creating checklists, number one.
I love it.
If you're getting ready for mediation, you're getting ready for court, or you're trying to come up with stuff to negotiate with your ex, checklist away. But make sure that you're giving it the prompts from a legal perspective, from your state, from your town, from your country, whatever. Do not just rely on it to tell you what you need. Okay? Brainstorming questions you might need to ask your lawyer. So if you want to be prepped about going in, you could maybe do some of that. Drafting your timelines, your to-do work. Put in what it is that you've got to do. Ask it, when should I be doing this? Get it to create a to-do list for you. We did an episode last week about surviving when you just want to give up. And we talk about just doing one little step a day. You could ask ChatGPT to help you create a to-do list plan. So one little thing every day to get it all done. Organising your thoughts before you see a lawyer. You could, if you are cool with your thoughts being subpoenaed or seen potentially in the future, you could pop it all in there and ask it to categorize it into different categories. So when you see your lawyer, you are having a shorter, more succinct discussion as opposed to this big, long brain fart, as I call it, where you're just like, but what about this and what about this and what about this and what about this? You can say, okay, we're going to talk about these 5 things. I think that they're helpful ways. Checking your spelling, that's a good thing. My spelling sucks.
But that's not your fault, though.
But don't avoid. So please don't use it to draft legal documents. Please don't use it to write affidavits or your consent orders or anything like that. Get a legal template like in our course. Download the legal template and create it with legal guidance. Yes. Don't get ChatGPT to make something up because unlike a lawyer's drafted template that's been used over and over again and they know that it works, ChatGPT is just, like Mum says, throwing it out
Yes.
there, and it's no skin off their nose if it's not watertight. Try not to use it to vent about your emotions or really strong private feelings,
Yes.
because I know we're talking about family law. I do definitely see this being used in criminal cases moving forwards.
Yes.
Don't you think,
yes,
Mum?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So you know how they look at people's Google searches?
Yes, yes.
They're going to be looking at
That
what people tell
yes,
ChatGPT.
of course. Yeah,
So
good
it
point.
will filter into family law.
Yeah.
It will filter. It will definitely be in criminal cases. Probably
I
already
don't
is.
think many of our listeners would put anything in that was incriminating, really, but I do worry that it could be used against them. So just be a little bit cautious. I mean, even what people have watched recently on YouTube seems to come up if they are in a criminal investigation. And so I
Yeah.
dare say that also could come up in family law as well. So, yeah, just be very careful, guys.
So nothing's off limits these days. I think if you
It's
if you
not.
do it,
That's right.
if you search it, if you look for it, if you write it, if you type it, it's there. It's there. And whilst family law is all really about property and children's matters, it can be used if you've asked parenting advice, or if, there's anything. So I'm not telling you not to use
Yep.
it, but I'm just saying it's really a good idea to think long and hard before you just start chatting away to
I
it.
wonder if anyone would ever be tempted to put in an email from the other side and ask for the kind of summarised version. I know some people are unable to bring themselves to open correspondence from someone else, and it is usually because of maybe the hectoring, badgering tone of it. And AI might be able to distill it down to just the facts.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. And we've heard a lot of people doing that in the co-parenting world when they've got an abusive ex potentially, or a narcissist who just writes word salad drama. People do put it in and use that. And I do know there are some AI plugins or whatever you call them that are helpful for that.
And if you've written something when you were mad, right, it might pay for, perhaps if you want to put it into ChatGPT and say, how does that sound?
Can you take the emotion
Can you
out
take
of
the
it?
emotion out? Can you turn this into dot points? Something like that.
But be aware, if you write some big, long, abusive tirade that's horrible,
Yes.
and then you ask ChatGPT to take out all the abuse, they could get that letter that you wrote to ChatGPT, and it could be used in court. So I think
Yes, you're right.
I think today's episode is so important to say you are going to be looked at. Unfortunately for you guys going through it now, there's more stuff that people can grab from.
Yes.
Yes. There's more things, there's more insight. Social media opened it up even more.
Yes.
But this is going to open it up even more, because at least on social media, it's like a one sentence and a photo.
Yes.
But on ChatGPT, it's pages and pages and pages of people's innermost thoughts.
I think the court's going to probably have to rule on how much of this stuff is going to be investigated. I love, text messages and Facebook have solved a lot of evidentiary problems for people. It's not all just he said, she said now. But ChatGPT, I think, has a bit of a double-edged sword. Yeah.
Now, I can think of a really good alternative for ChatGPT if someone is struggling, and that is Mum. We have a thing called the member Q&A, and then it's weekly.
Yeah.
And Mum sits there for about an hour, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, and people ask questions, generalized questions. I mean, that they would have typed into ChatGPT.
Yes.
But their mum is giving information from that question from a lawyer who's done it for a long time point of view. There are other things that you can try other than just asking ChatGPT and hoping it's going to give you the right answer.
Yes.
And when it comes to writing your documents, etc., we do have our course that you can do, the DIY Divorce Blueprint, where we take you through and help you do it all and give you the templates so that you can do it. And if you want to use ChatGPT to tidy it up, that's on you. But that is another option. There are other options out there. I do worry. So many people are like, I use ChatGPT to create this thing and do this thing, which is great.
Looks
but
good.
The potential for it to not be right, or for the potential for it to be used against you So AI is powerful, but you've got to use it carefully. And I don't think people are not thinking about that yet. People in the business world are using it like crazy
Yes.
because it's business. It's fine. It's not like anyone's going to be upset if they have their business chat released on marketing. But people are going to be upset if their social, emotional divorce stuff gets leaked. So always double check what you're writing.
Absolutely. And if I don't believe it ever just disappears. And your kids may, in the future, just like they can see on Facebook what you've been saying and what the other person's been saying, it may be there forever for them. So I'm a bit thoughtful about it. Particularly, I think, Laura, one of the new artificial intelligence platforms, or newer, says, we won't, this platform won't search the world and come up with something from that. They will only create something from what you put in. And I thought to myself, what would you have to put in to get this platform to write, say, an affidavit for you that reflects your point of view? And the truth is, you're going to have to put in everything, all of the, and maybe some remarks that on reflection, a lawyer would say, don't put that in. So you've got to put that in there to get your sanitized version out. But that other version doesn't go away. And I think it's particularly vulnerable to subpoena or disclosure because it's in your name. It's in your name. Yeah.
So the takeaways for you guys today, be careful because legal context and AI, it's not a tested ground yet. So be careful. Always double check what you put in because if you're submitting something to court, we've seen so many people come a cropper already. And we've just talked about what might happen in the witness box or how it may lack your story and your tone and that may affect your case completely. Think about how you can use it instead as a tool to organise, prepare, not decision-making, not action-making, but organising, preparing. Use it like you would like an assistant, not a lawyer, not a psychologist. And legal advice, it's got to come from a professional. You cannot. If this is your future, this is your children's future, do not make the mistake of being those first couple of people who are going to end up as headlines or as main family law cases where they've made big boo-boos by not, or just not getting what you want because you didn't know the law properly or your case properly.
And just remember the hallucinations that artificial intelligence has, and they will give you sections of the Act and cases, apparently, AI, that do not exist. So you're really upsetting the court. To thinking back in my barrister days, if a person's in the witness box and under cross-examination, they don't speak like their affidavit spoke, do you know? You might get someone who's had a really quite basic education and they're chatty and, yeah, mate, no, mate, I didn't do this. And then they've got an affidavit that says, I proceeded down the motorway. And you go, I've seen it. Did you write this? Oh, no, my lawyer wrote it. I just signed it, mate. What's this? And another one, what's this word mean, witness? I don't know. Well, it's in your affidavit. So, yes. And that's the other side cross-examines you and tackles you on your material. So you can't just phone this one in, guys. You're going to have to do it properly and the hard way.
And you can't go back to a judge after you've signed consent orders and say, ChatGPT wrote this consent order. I didn't think about double checking it and I want it changed now because it means I never get my kids for Easter, or it means that there was a mistake and forever now I don't get to see my kids for Mother's Day. So, there are things you need to think about.
If anyone's going through that, my darlings, it's not really forever. It's just till the kids are older. But it's so hard. And that's one thing about having a lawyer, I think, Rosie, is that we've seen a lot of these backfiring things. So those 12 agreements we talk about in children's matters for the case, we always ask, but what if? And we know those what ifs to ask, but you might not until you're suddenly in it because it's the first time you're doing this job, writing orders.
So our 5 essentials, just to double check and just to rely, and then Mum, I want you to come up with something to embroider on a cushion. Number 1, your chats can be subpoenaed. Don't forget that. Or shared. Number 2, if you use AI to write your affidavit or your consent orders or whatever, just be mindful that it might not work, it might not legally be right, and it could include fiction and not sound like you. Number 3, ChatGPT isn't your lawyer. It doesn't understand legal nuances. and context when it comes to family law. Number 4, AI is just going to potentially mirror your biases or your emotions based on the information you put in. So get a psychologist. And number 5, you can use AI, but it has to be for organising and planning and being mindful of what it is that it's going to spit out and what it is that you're putting in and giving to the rest of the world and what it's retaining. So, Mum, what can we embroider on a cushion for this episode?
Well, I thought about it, and we've talked about when you see a psychologist and when you see a lawyer and so forth. So I think I just want to say ChatGPT doesn't have a degree.
That's a good one. ChatGPT doesn't have a degree yet. One day, maybe in the future it will, but it doesn't have one yet. And you're right, Mum, because I see you and those Mumba Q&As for our members where they're asking questions and you're thinking, you mention cases off the top of your head and you say, oh yeah, well, there is this case from 1982 and this happened and this happened and this happened. Maybe go read that. There's things, and you said in that case the judge mentioned this. Like there's a lot of information that's so nuanced and so related to very specific situations that it's just not going to be picked up on an AI bot. So please, everybody, I want you to sit down today at your little bit of homework after anyone wants to embroider ChatGPT doesn't have a degree on a cushion. Think about what you're using AI for and be mindful as well, because it's also on Google, on your Gmail. There's an AI thing there as well. What are you using it for in your divorce process? Are you using it for the right reasons? And should you be changing any of your behaviours at the moment? And are you using it safely? So we're going to leave all of that for you to think about. I don't want to feel like we've pulled the rug out from under, because I think some people think they've found the solution to their divorce journey, and that is ChatGPT. But we're here to tell you that's not the solution, so that you don't regret it later on.
That's right.
But big love to you all. I know we're all looking for quick fixes and magic solutions. Sadly, this one isn't the answer. No. But big love to everyone, and big love to your mum.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you for sharing your information.
No worries.
And we'll see you guys all next week.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye, Laura. Bye, darling.
Bye.
If you found this podcast helpful, we'd love it if you could rate, review and subscribe. By doing so, you are spreading the word to help someone else just like you. Lynn would like to remind you that this podcast is general advice only, and you should always get legal advice in relation to your particular situation. And remember that the Australian laws may have changed since recording,